to our channel here on YouTube. And if you're new to the channel, okay, remember that we do tax sales. We do tax lien investing, tax deed, and tax redeemable deed. These are people who didn't pay their property taxes. And then you have the right to either buy the lien on the property, the deed, or the redeemable deed. Very important there. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about state of Indiana today, right over here, state of Indiana. Okay? So state of Indiana. So remember, in the state of Indiana, Indiana is located in the Midwest. Right over here, mostly in the Midwest here, and you have Illinois to the west, you have Kentucky to the south, Ohio to the east, and Michigan to the north. Fundamentals. We have to know where the state of Indiana is located. All right? Next thing we got to understand is that in Indiana here, okay, it's a tax lien auction. Tax lien auction. And a lien auction means that you're going to be bidding to be a lien holder on the property. It doesn't mean that you're going to own the property. You're going to be a lien holder on the property. Now, if they pay the taxes back, you get your money back plus interest. Now, we have to understand that in Indiana, the months that they have the auctions are usually from the month of what? August to December. Usually August to December of each year is they have the tax lien auction, August to December of each year. Okay? So when you're doing the auctions, you got to understand that when you're bidding to be a lien holder on the property, you're not going to be basically owning the property in the state of Indiana. Indiana, you're only going to be a lien holder on the property. You can't go onto the property, you can't cut the grass, you can't talk to the neighbor, knock on the door, can't fix up the house, can't do any of that stuff. You're going to be a lien holder on the property. So a few minutes, little boy, I'm going to actually go through like a little fun auction for you. And I'm going to show you how it works on the auctions in the state of Indiana. Okay? So, number one, remember that in our business, in the tax sale business, these are people who have not paid their property taxes. Okay? So we're not going after people who pay their property taxes, who are current or anything. We're not even interested in that. We're only interested in people who have not paid their property taxes. That's it. That's all we're interested in. People who have not paid the property taxes. Okay? So, number one, we got to understand that. We got to understand that is people who have not paid the property taxes. Okay? So, number two, we understand that Indiana is a lien auction. It's a lien auction, okay? And they have their auctions in the month of August or December, depending on the county. Some counties may have it in September, some may have it in October, some in December. So you've got to know when they're going to have their auctions. Very important. You got to know when they're going to have their auctions in the state of Indiana. Now, I want to tell you how we're going to work it out. Now, in Indiana, remember, is like you are bidding on the parcel number. You're not bidding to own the property, okay? You're only bidding to be a lien holder on the property. If they don't pay the taxes later, fine. You will win the property. You'll win the property. But in Indiana, remember, you're going to be a lien holder on the property. Now, Indiana we'll give you an example. If the tax, if the auction starts out and they do an auction and you win, okay, you win. So if the auction say $1,000, you'll get a 10% penalty. 10% penalty in the state of Indiana. Right there, state of Indiana. You get a 10% penalty. So that means if you invested $1,000, okay, you invested $1,000, then you will get paid a 10% penalty. Thank you very much for the hearts. Appreciate it very much for the hearts there. Okay, 10% penalty on the $1,000. Okay, so if they come back and pay you 1 day late, you made $100. But if they come back in 1 year, you made $100. Okay, so remember that it's a penalty on the amount of money that you bid at the auction. Now, let's suppose the auction goes to say $10,000. Somebody bids higher to you than $1,000. It goes to $10,000. Well, you're going to get a 5% annual interest rate on the difference of the $9,000. You're going to get a 5% annual interest rate. Now, remember, very, very important. I'm going to tell you this. After 6 months, it does go to 15%, okay, as a penalty in Indiana. Okay, that's how they have it set up right now. 10% the first 6 months, the next 6 months you get 15%. So actually 1 year, yeah, you'll get 15% instead of that 10%, okay, penalty. So that's the plus you have that way, okay? So if they pay you in 6 months, or 6 months in 1 day, you could say, you'll get a 15% penalty on that $1,000, okay? And you're gonna get a 5% annual interest rate, okay? So, remember, Indiana, right here, Indiana is a tax lien auction. Lien auction, you're bidding to be a lien holder on the property. You may get the property, you may not, but you get a great interest rate. Remember, the interest rate is 10% penalty of the amount that you bid, 15% after 6 months, and a 5% annual interest rate of anything that's bid higher than that amount, okay? So that's what our business is, tax lien, deed, and redeemable deed. We're the tax sale master. We only focus on people who don't pay their property taxes. That's it. That's all we focus on. People who don't pay their property taxes. Thank you very much for the hearts. Appreciate it very much for the hearts there, okay? And so let's start a little auction. Let's start a little auction right here for fun. Remember, this is a fun auction that we're gonna basically do. We're gonna do a fun auction for you in the state of Indiana, okay? And we're gonna look at this property right here. This is the property right there. You see this one here, right there, okay? This property right there. And in this property here, what happens? The person basically is paying the taxes. So maybe the opening bid might be 001, 001, 001. That's the parcel number. They're not gonna show you a picture of a property. They're gonna give you a parcel number when the auction starts. So got to make sure that that parcel number matches the property address and the picture of the property. Very, very important there, okay? So what's going to happen here is, like, you've done your research and you know you've looked at this property right here, you drove by it, this is a property we bought and sold already, and you know the property's worth $100,000. And the lien auction will start at, say, $1,000, $1,000, okay? Then, you know, let's say it right now, okay? Does anybody want to bid $1,000? $1,000. Anybody want to bid $1,000 for this lien on the property? $1,000 here. We have not $1,000. We have a Nightshade right now. Nightshade just here. He's saying, look, he's going to bid $1,000. $1,000 for the Nightshade, okay? On that we're going to basically be bidding to be the lien holder on this property for fun. That we're basically doing it right now, okay? Anybody want to bid $2,000? Anybody want to bid $2,000? Put it in chat. Anybody want to bid $2,000? $2,000 here. $2,000 for the tax lien on this auction. Anybody want to bid $2,000 here? $2,000 here. Going once, going twice, going three. Nope. So Nightshade won the lien for $1,000. $1,000 because nobody bid it against him. So he'll get a 10% penalty on that $1,000 for the first 6 months and 15% penalty on the next one. Yes, very good, nice, appreciate it very much, yeah. So you're gonna get a 15% penalty after 6 months, 6 months in 1 day, okay? So let's start with the same auction right now. We're gonna see the same auction here that we're gonna do on this property. Okay, let's do another property, because that one actually got sold to nice for fun. I'm going to show you this property here, this property right here, this property, this house right there, this property here in the state of Indiana, okay? And so now we're going to do the nice open auction, okay? We're going to do the auction right now. And remember is that you've done your research, you know, you see this house, you know it's worth $125,000 if it's all fixed up. $125,000, okay? So the auctioneer says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's start on number 2. Number 2 auction is 002, 002, 002. That's the APN number, the parcel number. Do we have a bid on number 2, please? 002, 002, 002. Yes, we have one right here, Nightshade coming here. Yeah, number $2,000 here. He's bidding $2,000 for this property here. 002, 002, 002 is the parcel number that Nightshade is bidding on. Do we have anybody else who's bidding higher than that? Anybody else? Yes, we do. We have Susan who just came in right now. Susan just bid it at $3,000. $3,000. Susan has bid $3,000 for this auction. Do we have anybody higher who's going to bid $3,000? Higher than $3,000, please. Going once to Susan. Going twice to Susan. Sold to Susan for the tax lien auction. Okay? Now remember, the opening bid was $2,000. So $2,000, Suzanne will get a 10% penalty on the $2,000 and to get a 15%. Okay, yeah, damn, Susan, you're right. So 15% penalty on the next 6 months, but she'll get 5% interest, annual interest rate for the $1,000 access. So remember, access, you always get a 5% annual interest rate. Now, in about 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to invite you if you want to come to our free class, okay? No selling or anything, get some good education. We'll be live for about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, give you some more education. We come on here on YouTube for about 10 or 15 minutes of how Indiana works. So we pick a state as we come live. So remember, every week at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday, which is California time, 5:30 p.m. California time, we're live here on YouTube. 4 o'clock we're on TikTok, 4:30 we're on Facebook, and 5 p.m. we're on Instagram. So 5 p.m. we are basically here, and today we talk about what? State of Indiana. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing these auctions for you. We're going to be doing these educations every single week. We're going to pick different states, and then if you have questions, you put it in chat. Whatever state that you're interested in learning, we can give you some basic information until we actually have the full-blown state that we're going to talk about. So what did we talk about today? We talked about Indiana. We talked about Kentucky on the south. West Illinois here is on the east, and Michigan is to the north, okay, in the state of Indiana. We talked about the tax lien auction. We said it's a bid up premium. Whoever pays the highest amount of money will win the lien. You can't go onto the property. You can't talk to the owner. You can't do any of that stuff at all, okay, in that type of auction. Then also, what did we talk about? Talk about the interest rate. 10% penalty the first 6 months, 15% penalty after 6 months, 1 day, okay, and a 5% annual interest rate on anything bid above the opening bid at the auction. 5% annual interest rate, okay? 1 year redemption period, we told you to, in the state of Indiana, okay? So we hope we give you some good education, some good knowledge in the state of Indiana, some fundamentals, some basics and everything like that. Subscribe to our channel, we're the Tax Sale Master. Tell your friends about us. We're also on the other platforms so you can get some good education, some good knowledge of how the tax sale works. And again, we thank you very much for taking your time to watch us here on YouTube, okay? So have a wonderful night, and then we'll see you another day.